My grandpa was told growing up that the Choctaw and some Creek medicine men would call Sasquatches out from the woods. The men would lather themselves up in bear grease and wrestle with the Sasquatches. So when the Sasquatches would try to manhandle them, they couldn't get a firm hold, and the natives would always slip away from the powerful grip. They would do this when they were preparing for their stickball matches. When I was a young kid, my dad would take my brother and I to family gatherings in a small town named Eufaula, Oklahoma. The older kinfolk have always wanted to clear out this very old cemetery filled with our ancestors. On this particular day, that's what this get-together was about. The cemetery was in a valley. To the north, a very high ridge known to local natives as Honeycomb Bluff. Many things have happened at this bluff over the years. Some say natives hid there from soldiers back when they first arrived to Oklahoma, trying to break away, and they would turn into stumps or a rock. An ancestor of our family hid in the bluff to keep away from police because he was making illegal moonshine. Back to the day, there were about 20 of us walking, ages from 7 to 60 years old. So as we are walking through this valley, my grandpa, dad, and a few others were at the back of the group. There was this loud cracking noise coming from the bluff. As a kid, I think the fear I had blocked out the visual I had of what this creature looked like. I remember the cracking sound the tree made, but I can't remember what the creature looked like. My grandpa and dad looked over, as did I, and they said they saw a creature that had scales, but it almost looked invisible, like how the Predator was from the movie. Can turn invisible when all you can see is an outline. They'd said the thing had split a big tree in half and was watching us from the edge of the woods. My grandpa always told us to never show fear, even if it scares you. So we went on to the cemetery. It shook my dad, and he still asks me to this day what I thought it was, and I always get this goosebumps feeling. I don't know what we encountered that day. Definitely really unbelievable. I have a few stories about this park in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Backstory. My grandpa lived next to this park called Mural Home. It's an old historical homestead that was turned into a museum. Behind and next to the homestead is a park with a small creek that runs behind the house. There's playground equipment at the furthest end of the park, and there is a trail that leads into the woods. There are multiple pathways that people can walk or camp if they choose to, but no one ever does due to what I'm about to tell you. As a kid, my brother and I were always taken to the park by my grandpa, same as mentioned before. We would walk the trails, play on the playground. When it was hot, we would play in the creek, catch crawdads. It was a lot of fun. My papa always used to tell us, don't go to that park after dusk. A lot of weird things happened there. I was in 2nd grade, and I was in FFA. We had just got done doing a fair that was in the community building for Earth Day. On our way back, we stopped by Mural Home to have some fun before they took us back to school. Knowing us kids, we were all over the trail playing tag and hide and seek. Well, it had begun to get dark, and the teachers were trying to gather all of us up before it got dark and head back to the school. I had a buddy that was always a handful and didn't listen, and a group of us was still playing on the trail. I get tagged, so I'm running around chasing classmates. When I saw someone pass out of the corner of my eye, I chased after them. They were just a little faster than me, almost like they were just taunting me. I gave up and said, "You win," and I headed back to the entrance of the trail. Come to find out, I was the only one on that trail when I was tagged, because the teachers had yelled for us and everyone went to them, except for me because I chased whatever it was that was on the trail. On the part that went deep into the woods, Mural Home has a lot of myths and legends that honestly creep me out. And as I got older, I stopped going there and forgot about the place until one day, a group of friends and I were telling stories and I bring up Mural Home. I tell them the myths and the legends and they want to go on Halloween night. I'm nervous. I really don't want to go, but I end up going, mostly because I don't want to look like a big pussy. We show up and we start walking the trails. It was probably about in the 70s as far as temperature. As we start walking the trails, I'm telling the stories that I have heard about the park, and out of nowhere the temperature drops, to the point where we could see our breath. I start getting this feeling that we are being watched. My friends are lost in technology, and I sense things. I am highly sensitive to feelings of different situations. The hair on the back of my neck begins to stand up, and I'm like, let's go. So as soon as we are leaving the trail and heading back to the car, I got the idea. I'm gonna scare these mofos. So I hoot like an owl. Nothing. I hoot again. Nothing again. The third time I hoot, I don't know what the hell it was, but something, whatever it was, uttered the most guttural roar. It was deep and had a rough sound. I blacked out in memory, and I don't recall what happened in the moments between the roar and getting to the car. Not until we were a couple of minutes down the road. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in the car. It was weird. I haven't been back since that night. This last story I have. My dad was a young college-age guy when this took place. He was walking from work on this gravel back road. When he was walking, he thought he heard something following him. He turned and looked back and saw a wolf on the other side of a barbed wire fence, just following him. He heard it following him until he got to a part where the road was paved, and as he turned back, the wolf was gone. My papa always said that the wolf was protecting my dad from something near him. I'm Navajo, and boy have I heard a lot of stories growing up on the reservation. While I've never seen anything myself, which I am grateful for, I have benefited by being around those people who have. There is a different kind of evil that exists in the quiet deserts and deep sandstone canyons of Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, even Colorado, in the southern Ute area. I can only describe it as an ancient evil. Now, there are helpful ceremonies, rituals, and traditions that are still practiced to this day. Hell, even the local hospital has an on-duty medicine man, but it seems to be a double-edged sword. What I mean is, there is also black magic, which most Navajo will not even acknowledge or speak of. We are very superstitious and are heavy with taboos. You will find this with most First Nation people, from Alaska to Argentina. It's just something you don't do, in fear that you will get the attention of unwanted spirits or harmful beings. Skinwalkers, or Nadushi, are just a few of the stories that kept me up at night, with the covers over my head. Now here's a quick one for you. A Navajo tribal police officer was driving west on what used to be officially named Highway 666. It was lightly snowing, maybe 1/4 of an inch, which is a lot of snow for home. And he sees this old woman walking on the side of the road. How she got there or where she was going was not apparent because she was so far out in the middle of nowhere. He didn't see her right away, but as he passes, he noticed that she is dressed in traditional clothing. a shawl, dress, moccasins, and her hair in the traditional bun. Not too odd. Many elders still chose to dress traditionally. But why was she out in such cold weather, this late at night? Hitchhiking? Maybe. He passed her too quickly and now has to turn around. As he makes a U-turn, he notices she is nowhere to be seen. This is fairly flat terrain, and he has for sure seen an old woman walking. He pulls the squad car over and steps out with his flashlight. Confused, he manages to find the woman's footprints in the shallow snow. He follows the footprints until they suddenly turn into what look like dog footprints, leading away from the road in a hurry. He immediately jumps back into the squad car and meets up with another officer near his patrol. He's a little shaken up, but asks the other officer if he has ever seen anything like that, and the officer tells him that he has. He also explains that sometimes it's an old woman, sometimes a very beautiful young girl, but always on that road and always in the snow, waiting for the right Good Samaritan to let her into the car. I still get nervous driving those wide open spaces at night. I keep my eyes strictly on the road and turn my music up high. I rarely pick up hitchhikers, but I never pick them up at night.